Hello, everyone. Welcome into our Kroger Kickoff Part 2 here. Once again on the field from the Superdome, Brandon Adams, as we're getting ready for Georgia and Texas in the Sugar Bowl. We're going to give you a chance to see some of what's going on the field behind us here. A moment ago, Georgia wide receivers were out going through their paces. Georgia quarterback Justin Fields was out there delivering the football to them. Now you've got the Georgia specialists in place, including kicker Rodrigo Blankenship. We're going to swing our camera around here and give you a chance to see Blankenship on the field and some of the other Georgia specialists. We'll give you a chance to see some of what's going on there. As we get in position for that, I'll give you some of the sights and sounds that we've seen here over the course of the last couple of minutes. Texas celebrity fan Matthew McConaughey made his way into the building a little earlier. That got a big eruption for both Georgia fans and Texas fans. McConaughey, one of the most recognizable figures in all of entertainment. He'll be on the Longhorn sideline tonight. Speaking of the Longhorn sideline, we also had an interesting situation a moment ago where Bevo, the well-known Texas mascot, corralled over there by some temporary fencing. He didn't like to be pinned in, and he almost got loose there for a minute. I honestly don't know how common that is, if that may be something that happens with a big steer like that every single game. But it was my first time seeing it in person, and it was quite a an awe-inspiring moment to see him swinging those horns around and watching some of his handlers have to duck out of the way of that. Also, you may be aware of the famous phrase that it's going to take it hold in the internet based on what Tom Herman, the Texas coach, said when he was criticized by Zach Smith, the former Ohio State assistant. Okay, cool, hook 'em. Well, a Georgia fan just to my right here has got his own sign that says, instead of okay, cool, hook 'em, he's got okay, cool, sick 'em. So Georgia fans having some fun with that as well. We'll give you a chance to see what's happening on the field here and some of the action in the Superdome Stadium. Obviously, we'll also have some time to take a couple more of your comments here as a part of our Kroger Kickoff. There, by the way, you see the OK, cool, sick 'em sign, and I got to appreciate that. The Georgia fans who made their way to New Orleans here obviously having a good time with all of that. And it's great to see a huge contingent of red and black here right now. Still too early to know exactly which fan base is going to have the higher numbers. Obviously, Georgia fans have gotten very used to outnumbering opposing fans in neutral site stadiums and, in some cases, even away stadiums over the last couple of years. Texas fans are excited about this game, as has been well documented, just given the fact it's their first time being on a stage like this in quite some time. But certainly it'll be interesting to see as the game progresses how that's going on. What you see on the field right now, as I said, Georgia kickers continue to go through their work. Georgia kickers continue to go through their work. You got some of the Texas guys there as well, kind of doing some of that kind of stuff. And more Georgia players will be out in just a moment here. But you see a lot of those guys having to get used to the different backdrop, kicking a little bit like shooting a basketball. You think about free throws, and you think about Final Fours, where oftentimes the Dome Stadium is thought to be a tough backdrop to shoot from. I'd imagine the kicking and punting can kind of be the same way, and so both teams, Georgia clad in its red and silver, Texas in its all white with the burnt orange trim, both these teams kind of getting used to some of that kind of stuff right now. Let me get ready to say hello to some of you with our comment section while we have some time here as we continue our Kroger Kickoff coverage of Georgia and Texas in the Sugar Bowl. Some of your thoughts about what you're expecting to see in the game. Some final thoughts we go there. Also kind of interesting to see Georgia assistants Dale McGee and Sam Pittman having a little bit of a conversation there on the sideline. Two of the guys that obviously have great relationships with Uber recruits, and I don't know that Georgia's ever had two more popular assistant coaches than what Pittman and McGee have been for the work they've done bringing in elite talent to this program, and no doubt they're having a private moment there before they go to work here, and then once this game's over, get back to work and solidifying some of those 2019 names. For Dale McGee, probably no more running back to add to this class. But for Sam Pittman, there's at least a thought that another offensive lineman could be added in here to this into this fold here. So that'll be worth paying attention to. Greg Childers says, I wish Larry Munson could call the game tonight. R.I.P. to Munson. And, yeah, no doubt, when you think about, Munson's great call from the 82 game, look at the sugar falling from the sky. We have a little bit of interesting news here. Jordan Davis is going to walk by us here. And Davis is not wearing a uniform. He's got his jersey on, but those are street clothes, sweatpants on Jordan Davis. So that would appear to be an indication that the back injury that Davis has had is going to keep him out of this game tonight. So we just saw Jordan Davis walk by, not in uniform. That's pretty big news here as part of our Kroger Kickoff. There's been some discussion of what Davis's role could be. he's been dealing with a back injury in these bowl practices here. But Davis does walk by in out of uniform, so that would appear that Jordan Davis, Georgia's top run-stopping defensive lineman over the second half of the season, it would certainly appear that Davis is not going to play in tonight's game. There's a ovation over here to my left. Looks like Bevo and Ugg are having a moment together, the two mascots together on the field over there. That's what looks to be going. So we'll keep bringing you some of the sights and sounds here as this stadium starts to fill up and things start to kind of get cranked up here in New Orleans on the Superdome field. David K. Duke's asking, what about Justin Fields? Will Fields play? We saw Fields a little earlier going through his warm-ups, very similar to the way that he has in every other game this season. Fields was out there doing his thing. So, the message from Georgia had been it'll be business usual with Fields, and thus far, that's exactly what it has been. You may notice SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey down on the field here. Obviously the Sugar Bowl has taken on a little bit different tone over the last couple of seasons because the agreement that's in place between the SEC and the Big 12 in years when it can work out to send them against each other here. So there's a lot of conference pride on the line in this game. And obviously Sankey will be certainly doing his part to tout the SEC, and I'm sure he's looking forward to seeing what he hopes is a Georgia victory. So it's nice to see SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey in the building here today. John McMillan says, wow, in terms of the absence of Jordan Davis. And, yeah, that is a little bit of a wow situation, and certainly one that is going to make it tougher on Georgia to stop the run. A lot of attention has been paid to these Texas receivers, little Jordan Humphrey and Colin Johnson. But Tom Herman is a coach that has built one of his major tenets around the notion of running the football. And the absence of Jordan Davis, when that would certainly appear to be the case right now, not in uniform, that's going to make it tougher for Georgia to stop the run there tonight. That's certainly something worth paying attention to. It looks like Georgia's going to be looking to find some defensive line depth here. One of the commenters mentioned, does that mean that Notori Johnson gets more involved? I think it's all credit to Notori Johnson that he's volunteered to move over there and be a part of the Georgia defensive line. If that's indeed the position that he's going to try to get playing time at Georgia, I'm guessing he probably has a little more ways to go to work his way into a playing situation. But certainly Georgia's going to be looking to fill in that depth somewhere there. Pretty interesting stuff. Jeff Boyle says Georgia wins every game in 2019. Well, Jeff, if that's going to be the case, every game in 2019, you got to start on the first calendar day of 2019. That's why a lot of Georgia fans are certainly looking forward to seeing Georgia against Texas tonight as Georgia tries to start off the calendar year with a win. Closing out 2018 in a fine note by winning against one of the top 10 winningest programs in history of college football. This is one of the most recognizable brands in the sport. That Longhorn emblem, that burnt orange and white combination, and certainly it would do wonders for the Georgia brand to come away with a head-to-head win against Texas here today. And as the commenter mentioned, also ushering in possibly a lot more success in 2019 and beyond. Neil Drennan doesn't like the fact this game's on the SEC. Should be, I should say, on ESPN. He would prefer to be on network TV. The fact of the matter is that these games have become big parts of that ESPN contract as of late. The college football playoff games themselves now on ESPN. And that competitive world of cable television where you're chasing that subscriber money, having high-profile college bowl games like this is a great way to build that business, and that's exactly what Georgia's trying to do here. Ken Blankenship watching in on his brother, saying he's now hit 40 in a row. He's enjoying watching his brother there in the middle of the field, Rodrigo, who has been money all season for the Georgia Bulldogs, and kicking from straight away, middle of the field, continues to be money here in these warm-ups right now. Obviously, for a guy like Blankenship, will one day in the NFL kick in a lot of stadiums like this. I'm sure there is a little bit of a comfort level with these conditions. It's not windy. It's consistent on both sides. It's it's a perfect surface from which to plant your feet and get that from. So obviously for Blankenship, this is probably a home that he feels very comfortable in, and obviously Georgia will lean on him heavily tonight in situations when that comes available here. We see some more action going on over here. as the warm-ups continue, more stuff kind of going on. The officials making their way onto the field, getting settled in. Looks like Georgia assistant coach Glenn Schumann coming in onto the field. Obviously, for Schumann, this could be his final game, maybe as a position coach. There's certainly plenty of rumors that Schumann could be one of those guys in line to be the Georgia defensive coordinator. Obviously, a couple names within the program who are potential names there, including Dan Lanning, who met with the media earlier this week in that customary DC role. Georgia also has the opportunity to maybe hire from outside the program on that. That's one of those things that'll be one of the bigger stories once we get beyond the bowl season, as Georgia tries to prepare itself for National Signing Day in February and look to hire that defensive coordinator. Plenty of barks from the Georgia fans as the Georgia offensive line comes out here. You see what looks to be the number 2 offensive line working with Justin Fields there at quarterback behind them. We take a look and see what you see, including Jamari Salyer there on the field. Trey Hill working there at the left guard spot. You see Jake Fromm just off to Fields' left. So you've got some centers in there doing some snaps with the quarterback, including Matthew Downing. Of course, everybody knows by now what the story with Justin Fields is, that Fields has put his name in the transfer portal. There's a strong indication this could be Fields' final game in a Georgia uniform tonight. He obviously has the opportunity to rethink that situation and come back to Georgia if he wants, but certainly the rumor mill would suggest that he's going to go elsewhere. And so after the game tonight, we will see whether it's a winning or losing situation for Georgia. We will see what Justin has to say about that, but that's obviously going to be one of the big stories as Fields gets ready to make a decision here when it's all said and done. You get a look at the Georgia quarterbacks, obviously Jake Fromm, who over the course of the season has solidified his spot as the Georgia starter, and I would think would be working on a campaign that could make him, along with Georgia running back DeAndre Swift, in all likelihood, one of the listed favorites for the Heisman Trophy in 2019. Fromm has had a great season and a terrific performance against Alabama in the SEC championship game, and we'll see what Fromm can do tonight as an encore with the eyes of the college football world watching, as it's the only game in town here on this prime time location, New Year's night. And Happy New Year to you, and thanks for being a part of our Kroger Kickoff. We've got a couple more minutes here that we can bring you some of the sounds, some of the scenes from the field. After that, we're going to have to sign off until after the game. But don't forget, we will have Northside Hospital postgame coverage for you, as much of it as you can stand. Some tonight after the game, including your reaction to what you saw between the Dogs and the Horns. And then plenty more tomorrow morning as part of a special Dog Nation Daily. One final time, live from New Orleans. We will react to everything that happened tonight and give you a look inside the Georgia locker room with Georgia coaches and players. That'll all be a part of a special Dog Nation Daily with Northside Hospital postgame coverage live from New Orleans tomorrow. For now, though, you see Riley Ridley on your screen. That's another one of those guys that once the game is over tonight, Ridley will be one of the guys really facing a difficult decision about is it time for him to go to the NFL. Of all the Georgia juniors, Ridley might be the one who has the best overall draft profile. He may be the guy that would be selected the highest. And there are a lot of Georgia juniors that could potentially have NFL careers. But in terms of how draft scouts are going to view them, I don't know that anyone would view a Georgia player more favorably than Ridley would be viewed right now. You also see Karis Jackson, the freshman from Peach County, on your screen a moment ago. Jackson's one of those guys that next season could likely have an expanded role for Georgia. And obviously Georgia fans are excited about what he might be able to bring to the table as a receiver there in the slot position for UGA. James Coley there watching his offensive personnel and get the workout here. Nice to see Coley in the building tonight. As our Kroger Kickoff continues, you continue to see McCole Hardman there fielding some punts. This dome is a little different than some of the dome ceilings you may have seen before. It's very dark. It's not light. It's not a light color. It's a dark, almost smoky gray or black color. So finding the football in the dome might be a little harder than it is in a normal daytime sky or even a normal night sky or what you might think of as the old Georgia Dome for those of you who've been there, or even Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This is a little darker ceiling to this dome. So for guys like Hardman who will be fielding some punts tonight, they probably want to pay close attention to all of that. All right, we're going to get ready to sign off for our Kroger Kickoff here. We'll let you see as much of this warm-ups as we can show you. But we're going to have to step over and say goodbye, and then we'll talk to you again after the game is over as well as a part of our Northside Hospital post-game coverage. Don't forget, we'll be in the forum tonight at forum.dognation.com. We'll be on the website all night, dognation.com. Chip Towers, Mike Griffith bringing you plenty of coverage from what's going on there. If you're still getting stocked up for your game-watching party tonight, don't forget about our friends from Kroger. And don't forget about Kroger Ship, one of the great new ways to buy those essentials that you need, not just for game day, but every day. Check that out with Kroger Ship. You can get those goods delivered right to your house. They're even going to give you free shipping on your first order and 15% off. So make sure you check that out from our friends at Kroger as a part of Kroger Ship. A really, really good new plan and a great way to get all the essentials that you needed and that you need delivered right to you. You continue to watch Georgia going through some of its warm-ups right now. And certainly looking forward to a great game as this stadium starts to fill up and get energetic. Things are starting to look pretty good there in that regard. So we're going to get ready to sign off and say goodbye to you. We'll have a lot more coverage throughout the game at the forum at forum.dognation.com and at dognation.com. And, of course, after the game as well for our Northside Hospital post-game coverage. Enjoy the game, everybody. We'll see you back on the Dog Nation video channels later on tonight. And Happy New Year, everybody.